Hello friends, welcome back to our video on Ashwa Old Coins. The history and design of British currency coins offer fascinating insights into the economic, political, and social changes that have shaped the United Kingdom over centuries. In this long script, we will explore the 10 pence coin from 1968 and the 1 shilling coin from 1948, examining their historical and geographical contexts, design elements, and significance in British monetary history. The British 1 shilling coin from 1948 holds historical and geographical significance within the context of post-war Britain, its currency system, and global affairs in the mid-20th century. To fully appreciate the coin's place in history, we must explore its context in terms of its production, design, and socio-political importance during the time. This detailed history can be divided into several key areas: the history of the British shilling, the 1948 coin specifically, its geography and the political landscape of the time, and the lasting impacts on the currency system. The shilling was a unit of currency in the British monetary system, which historically was part of the pound sterling. The British monetary system before decimalisation was based on the pound SD system. 1 pound, equals 20 shillings S. 1 shilling, S, equals 12 pence D. Thus, 1 pound was worth 240 pence. The shilling itself was used for many centuries, with its first known use dating back to the 1500s. It evolved from silver coins used in medieval England. Over the centuries, the shilling coin was minted in various designs and sizes, with fluctuating compositions of metals, including silver and copper. By 1948, Britain was emerging from the aftermath of World War II. The war had devastated the economy, and there was a dire need for reconstruction. The British Empire was beginning to wind down, and the United Kingdom was facing major social, political, and economic challenges, including austerity, rationing, and international tensions. The British Empire had begun its decline in the years following World War II. Many colonies gained independence, and Britain's economy was heavily strained by the costs of the war. In 1948, Clement Attlee was the Prime Minister. His Labour government had implemented several major reforms, including the National Health Service, NHS, and nationalisation of key industries. The Marshall Plan had helped in rebuilding European economies, but Britain still faced the daunting task of recovering from the devastation of war. At this time, the shilling was important in everyday transactions. People were accustomed to using it in trade, markets, and daily purchases, though the British economy was transitioning due to these larger global changes. The 1948 British 1 shilling coin marked a distinctive period in British coinage due to its design and its role during a major shift in Britain's monetary system. The 1 shilling coin minted in 1948 was made of nickel brass, which was a common material used during this period, especially as Britain was recovering from the metal shortages of World War II. The design of the 1948 shilling was largely influenced by the symbolism of the time. The obverse front of the coin featured a portrait of King George VI, who was the reigning monarch at the time. George VI had become king in 1936 after the abdication of his brother, Edward VIII. His reign was marked by the challenges of World War II and the post-war recovery period. The design was created by Mary Gillick, a British artist who designed the coinage for King George VI from 1937. On the reverse side, the coin depicted the floral emblem of England, a rose. The rose, with its deep historical ties to British symbolism, is the national flower of England and has been featured on British coins for centuries. This was part of a broader theme in British coinage, where national symbols were used to represent unity and tradition. Surrounding the emblem were the words, 1 shilling, along with the year of minting, 1948. The nickel brass composition of the 1948 shilling gave the coin a yellowish tint and made it resistant to corrosion, though it was not as durable as later materials. In this period of recovery, using cheaper materials was essential for cost-cutting and conserving more precious metals for other purposes. The 1948 shilling measured approximately 23.5 millimeters in diameter and weighed around 5.6 grams. It was slightly smaller and lighter than some earlier shilling coins, but still a similar size to most coins circulating during the post-war period. Geographically, the British 1 shilling coin from 1948 was not just limited to Britain. It was also used in various territories and dominions of the British Empire, which at the time still spanned across the globe. The 1948 shilling would have been used in places such as India. Though India was on the verge of independence in 1947, the coinage still circulated there in the first year of independence. Canada, Australia, and New Zealand. These Commonwealth countries were using the British pound, and therefore the shilling, until they later transitioned to their own national currencies. Africa and the Caribbean. British colonies in these regions still used British currency during this period. While many of these regions were gaining independence or transitioning to different monetary systems, the British shilling held geographical importance as the currency of a nation still perceived as a dominant world power. Despite its importance in 1948, the British 1 shilling coin would not last much longer in its classic form. The decimalisation of British currency in 1971 effectively marked the end of the shilling's role as an official unit of currency. On February 15, 1971, the UK officially adopted a decimal currency system, and the pound was subdivided into 100 new pence, rather than 240 old pence. The shilling became obsolete, and coins like the 1 shilling ceased to be used. However, the shilling remains a symbol of pre-decimal Britain. It continues to evoke nostalgia for older generations and has historical value for collectors and numismatists. The 1960s and 1970s witnessed the gradual withdrawal of coins like the 1 shilling and their replacement with decimalized currency. The coin still holds value today for collectors, especially in good condition or as part of collections from the post-World War II period. Despite no longer being in circulation, the British 1 shilling coin from 1948 remains significant to numismatists and collectors. Coins from this period are often valued based on condition. Coins in uncirculated or near-mint condition are rare and more valuable. Historical significance. The 1948 coin marks a transitional year for both the British Empire and its currency system. Demand. The 1 shilling coin was widely circulated, but the post-war scarcity of coins in good condition, combined with the historical importance, makes these coins desirable to collectors. The 1948 British 1 shilling coin represents a fascinating moment in British history. It was created during a time of political and social upheaval, following the hardships of World War II, and reflects a currency system that was soon to be swept away by the tide of decimalisation. Geographically, it ties into the waning years of the British Empire and its widespread use in numerous colonies and dominions. As a symbol of a bygone era, this coin encapsulates a time of significant change, both for Britain and the wider world. The 10 pence coin from 1968 is a significant part of the history of British currency, particularly due to the changes in the decimalisation of the British pound. Below is a detailed exploration of the coin's history, its design, significance, and the geographical context surrounding it. Before 1971, the British currency system used the traditional system of pounds, shillings, and pence, often written as pound st, where 1 pound was made up of 20 shillings and each shilling was divided into 12 pennies, or pence. This system had been in place for centuries, dating back to medieval times. However, the system was considered increasingly confusing and outdated, particularly in a modernizing world where other countries were adopting decimal currencies. In 1968, the United Kingdom began its transition to decimal currency, which meant that the pound would now be divided into 100 new pence rather than 240 pennies. This move was part of a long process that culminated in the official decimalisation of the British currency on February 15, 1971. The 10 pence coin of 1968 was part of a series of coins that were introduced as part of the decimalisation effort. While 1968 itself did not see the official introduction of the decimal currency, it marked the early years of preparation. The 10 pence coin would become part of the new set of coins, which would replace many of the older pre-decimal coins. The 10 pence coin was introduced as part of the transitional phase in the lead-up to full decimalisation. In 1968, the 10 pence coin was minted, but it was not yet in active circulation. It was part of a trial run to familiarize the public with the new coin sizes and values. The coin was introduced in 1968, but it wasn't until 1969 that it started circulating alongside other new decimal coins. This coin, as part of a set, represented 1/10 of a new pound. The 10 pence coin was a significant part of the decimal currency system and would eventually replace the older 2 shillings, or florin, coin, which had a value of 24 old pennies. The design of the 10 pence coin from 1968 was quite significant in itself. The obverse of the coin featured a portrait of Queen Elizabeth II. The portrait was designed by Mary Gillick, who was responsible for the original effigy of Queen Elizabeth II on British coins. This design was used on British coins from 1953 until 1968, when the effigy of the Queen was updated by Arnold Machin. The reverse of the 1968 10 pence coin depicted a representation of the heraldic symbols of the United Kingdom. The design showcased the British lion and the unicorn, 2 symbols of the UK, which represented the kingdoms of England and Scotland, respectively. These symbols are closely associated with the royal arms of the United Kingdom and were chosen to represent the nation's unity. Additionally, the coin was produced in cupronickel, a combination of copper and nickel, which was durable and resistant to wear. The coin's diameter was approximately 23.5 millimeters, which made it a medium-sized coin in the decimal system. The 10 pence coin played a significant role in the decimalisation process. Before decimalisation, the British public had to adjust to the fact that there were no more coins for shillings or half-crowns. The introduction of new coins like the 10 pence allowed people to make the mental shift to the decimal system. The 10 pence coin had a value of 10 new pence, 10p, which was exactly 1/10 of the new pound. This made the coin a useful part of everyday transactions and an essential part of the broader decimalisation effort. It also helped the public get used to the idea of a simpler system. 100 new pence would make up a single pound, as opposed to the older 240 pennies per pound. After 1971, the 10 pence coin would continue to circulate alongside other decimal coins, including the 1p, 2p, 5p, 20p, and 50p coins. Over time, the 10p coin would undergo several design changes to reflect the evolving image of the monarchy and to commemorate significant historical events. The decision to decimalize the British currency was part of a broader movement across the globe in the 20th century. Many countries, including Canada, Australia, and New Zealand, had already made the switch to a decimal system. The UK's decision was partly influenced by the desire to keep up with international standards and make trading with other nations easier. Geographically, the change was monumental for the people of the UK and the Commonwealth nations. The public reaction to decimalisation was mixed. While many saw it as a modernizing step, others felt it was unnecessary and disruptive. The fact that some older generations had spent their entire lives using the old pound, shilling, and pence system meant that some resistance to change was inevitable. However, as time passed, the decimal system gained acceptance, and the new 10 pence coin became a familiar part of everyday life in Britain. In the decades following 1968, the 10 pence coin would undergo several changes, both in design and in size. In 1992, the Royal Mint introduced a new, smaller 10 pence coin with a different design on the reverse, featuring a set of interlocking segments that formed the national emblem of the UK. This new version of the 10p coin was a response to rising production costs and the need for a coin that was easier to handle and carry. The 10p coin continued to be a staple of the British coinage system until today, although it is now smaller in size and uses a cupronickel brass alloy. Its role in everyday transactions remains significant, and it continues to circulate widely in the United Kingdom. The 10 pence coin from 1968 was a vital part of the UK's transition from the traditional system of pounds, shillings, and pence to the decimal system. It marked a turning point in British monetary history, as it represented the country's move towards a simpler, more modern currency system. Its design reflected the national symbols of Britain, and its introduction helped familiarize the public with the new decimal coins. Over time, the 10p coin would evolve and adapt, but the 1968 version stands as an important historical artifact in the context of British currency and the process of decimalisation.